Dingo Pizza presents SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Hey, welcome to the show. We're back. We're live. Hey. You know, crazy. It's funny that we've gotten a lot of messages from people saying, hey, I'm really surprised at the quality of the show considering there isn't a lot of hockey news. And I wrote one person back and they're like, I said, well, thank you, but what do you mean? And he said, well, like, you guys are talking about stuff, it's interesting, but it isn't hockey. And I said,
there's more to life.
I'm happy to hear that. That's great. And the thing is that in real life, the three of us are friends. So we talk about non-hockey stuff all the time.
We're like 20 minutes late because we've been talking.
Yeah. What you're getting right now is what we talk about when we're not talking about hockey. Like, we'll talk about stuff and it's like, oh, it's just not interesting enough or it's not that it's not interesting enough, but it's like that shouldn't make the show today because there's too much hockey to talk about. So that's just, You're just getting our chats.
Mike Stevens was chirping me over text. He's like, man, all this non-hockey talk, you guys have been training for this moment for 7 years. So true, though.
Well, we do have some hockey stuff to get to, including the players poll, which thankfully came out today, and it is quite funny from what I understand. Although it's hockey funny, so it's like
who's the biggest jokester?
Who's the biggest little turkey?
There's funny, and then there's athlete scrum funny.
Right.
It's an athlete says the littlest joke in a scrum, and all the media people around him are like, wow.
If it wasn't the Bill Cosby connotation, athletes say the darndest things would be a very funny name for a show, I think.
I'd say we take it back.
Yeah, we should take it back.
He doesn't own that.
No, he shouldn't. He should not own that.
I can't wait to see who is the most likely to do something untoward with tape.
Who's the most likely to win a ping pong challenge? So exciting. Yeah, so anyway, it'll be fun. We'll go through it. We'll have some fun with it.
Sometimes I listen to us and I'm like, I promise we love hockey.
Oh, we do. Sure. I just think
I know.
I just think generally it's their job to play hockey. It's our job to be entertaining. And I'm not good at playing hockey, and often they're not entertaining. So I think it fits what it is, right?
Yeah. And the people who are hypercritical about things are the people who care most about that thing.
Yeah.
Like the people who hate
so the people shitting on me in my DMs are the ones that like me the most.
The biggest fans of the show. Like
right.
The only reason you can hate something so specifically is because you know it really well because you're a big fan of it. Right? You can't criticize Game of Thrones of like falling off the end if you're not a fan.
No, true.
Unless
people
you're
must
a fan,
really like wrestling.
People do really like wrestling.
They do.
Do you ever get the impression that people who like wrestling hate it the most?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Because casual fans, like I went to a wrestling event. I think it was like a Monday Night Raw with Steve and Justin, and Jesse didn't come that night, I think, but we went a couple years ago. And I had the best time. It was hilarious.
Oh, it was awesome.
But there are very intense wrestling fans that are like, I don't like this storyline. I don't like where this is going. And I'm like, I don't know, man. They're just a bunch of adults doing stupid kid things, and it's hilarious. And
it's
I don't know what's going on. I don't know these characters, but they're great.
It's like so many things where it's unbeatable live.
Yes.
You go there live, and it's impossible for it to suck. It's great.
Well, I'm
From
one of those
age,
people.
Sorry,
go. Go.
I was gonna say from age 11 to 14, I was one of those I hate wrestling, but I love wrestling fans. Like I used to listen to a radio show called I think it's Live Audio Wrestling, The Law. It used to come on at 6:40 or something at midnight after whatever Sunday night pay-per-view was on. I used to listen to that and be like, this storyline is not going in the right direction. I'm so upset. I used to do all that inside wrestling stuff.
Wow.
There used to be wrestling shows on radio. I think the Fan had one. And that's when 640 in Toronto, by the way, is an AM station that is now like a all news station. But it used to be all news and randomly have the Leafs. So it was it was a bit of a hybrid. So back then they did a little bit of sports, and that's actually where I believe Jeff Merrick and Greg Brady came from. They used to do Leafs Lunch which was a pretty
Together?
big show with Bill Waters. No, it was with Bill Waters. I think Jeff Merrick was the first one, and then Greg Brady was the next one.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Pretty sure back in the day. Yeah, I might be wrong, but I mean, I know Greg did because I've talked to him about it when we and Bill Waters was a bombastic, crazy assistant general manager of the Leafs. So he had great stories. He really, like, you talk about that. It's unfortunate that he's an old man, but you imagine him in Brian Burke's position right now. Bill Waters could probably out bombast Brian Burke and would probably be he would be more polarizing almost than like a Don Cherry. I think maybe not for the wrong reasons though. I think for the hockey reasons. Like he had his way.
Jeff Merrick's got a lot of Bill Waters stories.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there's an archive of a 16-year-old Steve Dangle calling into American Waters.
Really?
And complaining about Nick Antropov. I got through.
No way.
Do you remember?
I think it was – I want to say it was after the Flyers eliminated the Leafs. And I was just like, the Leafs are never going to win a cup in my lifetime.
Wow, you still believe it? It's crazy.
Yeah, wow. I was super they're like, oh, that's the most cynical 16-year-old we've ever had call into our show or whatever, because I was still an age where I had to tell everyone I'm 16. Like I'm, when you're young and you got to tell everyone your age, I'm this many. That's what I did.
Have you ever called into a station, Adam?
I never called into a station. Well, no, but the reason I didn't was because my mom was in radio, and
you probably complained about dumb callers all the time.
I figured at that time it was probably best for me not to call in and be annoying because they might be somebody she knew. I'm not kidding. That was something that even when I was like 8 years old and I'm listening to like the local pop station Kiss 92 back in the day, I was like, man, like I want to call in. I want to call Tarzan Dan and I want to get my request on, but I never did. And then apparently my mom told me this years later. She's like, you always could have. She's like, me and Dan are friends. Like we could have, I could have had it, whatever, and I could have put you on the air there. And she, so like, she's like, I could have called him and said, hey, Dan, can you let my kid on the air? And he would have. And I said, well, I'm glad you didn't, because that's really weird. Not to win any contests or anything, but just to like request, I don't know.
But that's such a different perspective, because from like a young age, you saw from like the other end of the phone line.
Yeah.
You saw from the people answering the phone calls, which is fascinating.
I didn't want to be Adam from Scarborough. But I did, and this is bad. I've never told anyone this. I once angrily emailed TSN about a segment they did about the Leafs.
How old are you?
Oh, I would have been, 18 or 19. And it was like right after the lockout. So it was 2006, 2007 season. And I just remember I woke up and I was probably hungover and stupid. Well, I definitely was stupid.
You were probably hungover.
Maybe hungover. So I see a panel segment, and it's probably like Dave Miller, maybe James Duthie, and Gordon Miller, excuse me.
Not the mayor of Toronto.
Yeah, Gordon Miller. I'm not sure if it was Duthie or Gordon Miller, because Gordon Miller used to host those roundtable segments, but it was for sure like Pierre Maguire, Bob McKenzie, and Darren Dreger. And Darren Dreger said something about the Leafs not being good enough. And they, at that point, believe it or not, I think it was Paul Maurice, so maybe it was the second season after the lockout. I forget. Anyway, Paul Maurice
was second, yeah.
They were doing really, really well. They'd gone on a great stretch in November. And the day before, I had just been listening to Bill Waters and I think Jeff Merrick. And Bill Waters said, listen, if the Leafs keep playing this way, because they're not that good, Paul Maurice will win the Jack Adams. So, of course, 19, dumb. Like, there's a lot of smart 19-year-olds that follow the Leafs. I was not one of them. And anyway, so I'm like super jacked about this and pumping my chest. My testosterone's up. The next morning, they probably lost, and Darren Dreger was probably hard on them and too hard for my liking. So I think I sent an angry complaint email about, you don't know what you're talking about. and I think back to it now, and I was like, I hope I didn't like swear or say he was a bad person or anything like that. I think I was just an angry, dumb Leaf fan that was like, I disagree, so therefore you're wrong. And anyway, I hope that it never made it through, because the regret as soon as I entered radio school and realized a little bit, and I knew some of the stuff behind the scenes and how
you were that guy.
And I still did it. So anyway, that I've never told anyone that. Anyway, it was.
That's very funny.
What's funny about it too is it was back in the day, and this dates me so bad now. Like I'm going to be 32 in a couple weeks here, and I feel like the oldest man because I can remember when. And you had to go into TSN's site, and then there was a contact us section like there is, and then it was like, yeah, who do you want to email? And then it would have a list of each on-air person.
Yep.
And then it would have a little box where you could type, but there was only like, I think there was a limit on so it was like 500 characters or something like that. And then you would have to, you could choose to include or not include your Hotmail account or whatever, so they could respond to you. But like, it wasn't like now where like, no one's getting Darren Dreger's email now. They're not just giving
but now
right.
You can just tell him to eat your ass like straight to his phone.
You'll get a notification about it.
Darren Dreger, eat my ass, send. And I helped.
Nobody do that. Please, nobody do that. Anyway, Darren, I
No.
apologize. If you ever saw that email, I was just dumb and young. I mean, Adam, what else do you say?
That is the razor thin difference between you and I, though, because you saw something written about or said about the Leafs that made you angry. You sent an email. I made a YouTube video. That's the only difference. That's how it all started. The sun pissed me off. I made a video, and now I'm here.
Right.
In his basement.
Yours was a far more profitable way to go about it, and I should have been smarter. That's all I'm saying.
How many media people have you called out in your videos?
Me? Oh,
yeah.
Good question.
Back in the day.
Yeah, like early on.
Yeah.
Because when you don't know, you're just so far away from it. And you're like, those are the people on the TV yelling about the Leafs, and I'm gonna yell at them.
I shit on CBC for losing the Hockey Night theme song, and then I worked for them. I shit on Richard Petty, and then he was one of our earlier podcast guests.
And you gave him a hard time on the podcast too. Like you asked him some fucking hard questions.
Yeah, well, and from fans though too.
Yeah, but you were part of the, you were the Jim Acosta to his Donald Trump, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, and dude, I shit on Brian Burke for like half a decade, and I went for drinks with him recently. Like, I've taken some shots.
You know, Jesse, it was a sharp learning curve when we started the show. And the only reason I'm telling you this way is because we were far less professional.
Yeah.
Because, you think you're starting this little show, and back again, even in like 2013 when we started, it was sort of like, oh, it's the internet still, right? You could get away with a lot more. The idea was less people are listening or less people were watching, and less people were. I think we were getting like 2,000 listens a show or something back then, which was still great. I mean, we're still doing great, but it was like, it's far bigger and much different now. And, one of the things we did a lot in the first year, instead of, going after the team, which we did, we went after the broadcasters a lot. Mm-hmm. And one I really regret going after, because I just, all it was is I just disagreed with what he said. There was nothing wrong with what he did, is Glenn Healy. And Glenn Healy is one of the coolest people you'll ever meet in person.
Every year we see him at Leo Vegas's tournament there.
Yes.
And he's unbelievable. He's a great time.
Locker room guy.
Yes.
Quote unquote. Like I've never met anyone who's worked with him who has a negative thing to say about Glenn Healy.
And
we went hard.
Isn't he the ombudsman for the NHLPA? I know he's got a big role there.
He's up there. He's something important.
If he ever heard that, although I don't think he did, and I don't think he cares.
He'd give it right back. Dude, that guy was a career backup goalie. All he did, his main job in the National Hockey League was not to stop pucks. It was to talk mad shit from the bench.
And he did. He was good at it.
And he's incredibly good at it, yeah.
Anyway, I think he went at James Reimer for rebound control, or I don't know what it was. But anyway, it was sort of one of those things where one of the regrets in my career that I have is going after Glenn that hard, not just because of how I met him later. And I don't even remember how hard we would have gone. Some of those early episodes are just such a blur. But I know that if I went back and listened, I'd probably cringe. Mm-hmm. And, it's a tough gig. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's just, I just wish, I think we were angry because the Leafs sucked. And, sometimes that anger gets misplaced on a broadcaster who's probably making a good point. Even if they're not, they're still people. And I think it's just one of those things that I didn't understand I was still 23, 24 years old. So you don't understand what it's like to be, not that I've ever been on that level, but on that level, right? Where there's tens of thousands of people watching and dissecting every, word that you have. So that's one that I really, really regret. And if he ever did hear that, I sincerely apologize. Apologize anyway.
He wouldn't give a shit. There is a funny age where you graduate and you go, I'm an adult now? But then a little bit of time passes and you go, I'm an adult now. And I got friggin' I got takes.
I know everything.
You go, piece of shit. And and you just throw it up. Dude, Steve Simmons, like when we had him agree to come on, I remember messaging people being like I'm gonna get him, and like, here, what are some things I should say? And then like he's just pulls in front of Adam's mom's house, and I was just like, oh, it's a guy. And
you realize that thing in your head isn't reality.
Yeah,
no, like you're not gonna take down this media guy when he comes on your show and scold them for an hour. Like,
and it's hard enough to get guests in studio. Well, it's impossible right now. But, a couple months ago, it was hard enough to get guests in studio. That guy drove to your mom's house.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And you got to remember, we were nothing. Like, we were not a notable show. We were not, it was just something that I think he linked up with a producer with TSN because he was still doing the reporters back then, Steve.
I think no, you know what it was? It was, we were talking mad shit, and a producer, you're right, sent me a message like, hey, like, I think it would actually be a great idea to get Steve on the show and talk to him, and you can debate him and whatever. And I don't know, like, if you go back and listen to the show, I'd push back much more now. I'm more confident as a host for sure. But I came away from those shows, well, it was one show that we split into two, going, I disagree with this guy as much as I did at the beginning of the episode, but I at least respect him as a person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's where you learn, like, what people are on Twitter is just not what they are. Steve Simmons has a role to play. He has a brand, and his brand is to bother you. He wants to get under your skin, and he does. And doesn't care. But I mean, Elliot Friedman even said this. Steve Simmons is one of the nicest people you'll meet. He's really nice, really kind in person, really. And I have to say that's been my experience. Steve Simmons' opinion drives me through the wall. I think it's crazy. Oh. But I also think, like we've talked about recently, when the Leafs were playing, Jesse, you mentioned that Sid Seixeiro drove you nuts with a Leafs take he had once. And you just said, and I was like, it was funny to see you say that. And the thing is that you meet Sid. He's great. He's the best.
But you should never, like that thing you said about respecting them as a person. You should never not respect somebody as a person because of their take on a sports thing.
Yeah.
And that was the problem.
Like, people have bad takes on whatever sport they're really a fan of. And it's like, you can't, they're still a person. Like, this stuff is still entertainment. And so that's just their opinion. Like, but people take it so personally. They're like, oh, you don't like my favorite player. I hate you as a person.
Yes.
And that's not, those things aren't together,
There are some hockey folks who have said some things over the last little while where I'm like, wow, I actually really have lost respect for you as a person. It had nothing to do with hockey, though.
Exactly.
Like, the reason I wanted to hammer Steve Simmons wasn't because of anything he tweeted politically or about human beings. He was just, it was like,
he didn't like
Reimer's glove hand.
He didn't like Corsi.
Yeah. He didn't like Corsi.
Advanced stats. That's what it was. What a nefarious, stupid thing, right? Like, it's like, especially now in the lens of a pandemic, you're like, really, the biggest disagreement you guys had was over how people track stats and in the NHL, huh?
And you hated him because of that.
Oh, you
hated him as a person. He was a terrible man.
Yeah.
With family.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Can't believe he doesn't believe in shot attempts, you fuck. Can't believe that. Like, I can't believe
I know. But, you got to have convictions in sports. You got to have an opinion and a viewpoint and a role. And he's been very successful doing what he does for 35 years. And the funny thing about that is, after that, we posted that picture online, and my mom sent me a text message. We took a picture of Steve's. And she's like, was Steve Simmons in my house last night? Because we were doing it in my mom's basement. I was like, yeah, how do you know Steve Simmons? She's like, we used to work together in Calgary. My mom used to work for TSN and doing like CFL reports. And Steve Simmons was the reporter at the games. So they work together all the time. And I said, what a small world. It's crazy. So it's an unbelievable kind of circle. And I guess, it goes back to, and I don't even know how we got here. I think
was Steve Simmons at my house last night?
Yeah, I know, right?
What a ridiculous question.
It's funny, yeah. Anyway, I do feel bad sometimes. I don't know how we got here, but I do feel bad for some of the things I've said on with regards to people. But I don't think you can make a living with your mouth and not regret some of the things that you say.
Oh,
you know, you're gonna step over the line from time to time, and you're gonna have to eat shit and apologize or just regret and learn from the lesson. And I certainly know that we've learned a lot. And by the time Jesse came around, we were far and away more professional and I think better broadcasters than we'd been 12 months before. Because Jesse, well, you were part of the show within the first 14 months anyway. I think it was like 14 to 16 months. It was really quick.
Yeah, so, but even like recently, I was actually watching us do the David Dobrik and Liza Koshy breakdown recently.
Yeah. Oh, the half an hour breakdown of their break. Yeah, man, I loved that. That was fun.
Watching that video back and it was awesome. But there was one moment where I forget, Adam, you had asked me a question about, I forget, I think it was about like relationships or something like that. And then I gave like a half a sentence answer and I kind of shut it down. I was like, oh, that was like 2 years ago. And I was like, that's such a terrible, I wouldn't do that today. You know? Like still stuff that recently, like that was 2018. It's like, we're still improving so much. We got so much to grow.
Oh yeah.
That's not me now.
Yeah.
That was me 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's amazing.
That's how it should be.
Right. That's how it should be. And you're right, Steve. You should listen back to your old stuff and cringe a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was good.
Even if it was good. Like people who write, people who like God, if you work in anything where you are creating something, or if you look at your life from 5 years ago, you should cringe at a few things. Like anybody can look at things through the same lens and go like for instance, what chores you didn't know when you moved out of your house that your mom had always taken care of for you. Probably makes you cringe now, but I know friends that like didn't know how to pay bills. They didn't know how to pay bills.
When I moved out, I cried. Have I told this story?
No.
No. So it was so ridiculous. Like Mrs. Dangle had to put like a sticky note over the laundry machine. Here's how you use it. Like,
had you never done laundry?
Sorry?
Had you ever done laundry?
No, not really. My mom was one of those.
What age was this?
26.
He owned a house, Jesse. Yeah. To learn to do laundry. I've been doing laundry since grade 3.
It's pathetic.
Crazy.
But no, my mom was one of those moms though, where if I did the dishes, if Dad did the dishes, if any of us did anything, she would redo them because she just didn't like the job we did.
Right.
Although Dad was a fairly useless cook. I still remember one time she left. I remind me to get back to what I was going to say. But one time she left my dad to go do something, I can't remember, and he had to watch us, and like he can't cook, but she left like M&M meat shops, frozen chicken nuggets, like literally throw these in the oven, stupid, and they'll come out and put some sauce and you eat them. He ordered a pizza. Like we were useless without her. We were
fair enough.
So anyway, my wife puts like a sticky note above the laundry machine, and it's funny, and I'm doing all these things, because I'm an adult and I live on my own now. And I went back to my parents' place to pick up something. I can't remember what it was. And I'm in the house alone because they weren't home yet. And I remember just like feeling really bad, like reflecting, like, oh my God, I did nothing in this house. I did absolutely nothing in this house. And then my mom came home just as I was about to leave. And I'm like, sitting on the stairs, and I just burst into tears. And I'm fairly certain it was the best moment of my mom's life.
It's like, oh, you realize you didn't help me at all growing up.
Yes. Yeah. I'm fairly certain she was just like, yes.
I also think it's good for moms to know, and maybe dads too. I haven't been to this point in dadhood yet, but I think it's good to know that you're still needed. Right? I think that's important.
I don't know if that ever goes away.
No, I don't think it does. So, because that's the role the parent plays, and you're needed less and less as they get older. Yeah. So,
My mom, every time I leave that house, I leave with a small plastic bag of something. Like literally like loose tea bags that just because she has some and I'll like them.
My mom used to slip 20s in my shoe. If I don't know why. And I'd be like, Mom, like, I don't need $20. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm good. And she'd be like, no, just take it. Just take it. We're like, okay, so
you never know when you need $20.
$20. Yeah. So, moms are moms. Now, we did promise a Tiger King breakdown last episode. We did not deliver on that, and I apologize for that. But we are going to do one today. We've also got some NHL player poll stuff. We've also got, I believe, just a bit of an extended press conference because there's a draft happening in our press conference, which I like to, which I'm pretty excited about. So, I guess the question is, did Carol Baskin kill her husband and feed him to the tigers?
I think so.
It's the only thing society should agree on.
It's
pretty clear that she killed her husband.
The thing that gets me, and again, if you haven't seen the show, you're probably going to want to skip this because you're not going to get it. Okay.
Well, and you're going to want to not be.
You're going to need to watch
spoiled.
This. Yeah. He gets stuck in the tiger pen with the tiger who's trying to chew on his shoe, right? And he's
this is the Tiger King. Yeah, Joe Exotic.
Yes.
And he's like, somebody probably put perfume on my shoes. And his Oklahoma drawl. And
somebody, they put goddamn perfume on my shoes.
I know exactly where you're going, Adam.
Yeah. And then they randomly, and that God bless the documentary makers for this, because somehow in all the hours and hours and hours of footage that took them 5 years to compile, they got Carol saying, well, if somebody wanted to kill him, they would just put, fish oil all over. What was it? What did she say?
They cut to her. They cut to her saying, this is exactly how you would kill a human with a tiger.
But it's ridiculous to think that I ever would.
That's crazy.
It's like if O.J. Simpson hadn't gone to the trouble of writing that book.
If I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that was
Jesus.
That was never released, by the way, I don't think.
I know I've heard an excerpt from it, so it was, I think, leaked.
Oh, he did it, but I don't think it never fully came out, did it?
I think it did.
I don't think it was ever, it never hit store shelves.
I'm going to check Amazon right now.
It was, no, you can't buy that on Amazon.
.ca.
Man, I wouldn't shock me. You can buy anything on Amazon.
If I Did It. Confessions of the Killer. If I Did It, The Confessions of the Killer by O.J. Simpson, $9.49 on Kindle.
Oh, wait. No, I do actually know the story behind this. So, Jesse, if you can maybe put this up in the video screen, the title. Right. Okay.
Wow.
So, no. Hold it up, though. Hold it up.
Yeah.
So, you see the title is I Did It is in giant letters.
Yeah.
So, oh, God. What's the name of the woman he allegedly killed?
Nicole Brown Simpson.
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, her parents somehow got the rights to the book. So they made the cover just giant letters, I Did It. And if is isn't if in tiny letters?
Yeah.
Somewhere?
You can't even see it.
Oh, yeah. So if you see inside of the eye, it says if there.
Yeah, so I'm not. Don't hold me to that. I'm not totally sure that's who owns it. But yeah.
Damn.
I feel like that's the deepest dive we've gone on OJ. On
yeah.
this show, but
weird story. Remember, we were talking about Catch and Kill at the end of we were, I guess, mid last year too. Do you know what happened? Have you heard what's happened with that publisher since?
No. Yes. So
explain what Catch and Kill.
I'm just jumping in there with the publishing rights thing. It's just crazy.
Yeah, do this. Explain what Catch and Kill is, and then explain the whole story.
So Steve and I.
You?
Well, I mean, you do it.
You do it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Steve and I were obsessed with this book, Catch and Kill, and it is by the reporter that put together the original story on Harvey Weinstein.
Ronan Farrow.
Many before who had tried, but their bosses usually were intimidated by Weinstein because he was extremely powerful and extremely rich and could basically he could do what happened to Gawker, right? You could just destroy the publication in the courts.
And witnesses were afraid to come forward as well.
100%. Yeah, and everybody knows
witnesses and victims, I should say.
Yeah, and everybody sort of knows that story. But what that story is more than just how the story was put together is how it was mothballed by NBC many times, and it's specifically a name that keeps coming up is Noah Oppenheim, who I believe is still working there.
He just got extended.
So
a couple months ago. It's wild.
And Matt Lauer is involved, and you know what happened with Matt Lauer and all this stuff. Anyway, so one of the interesting things about the author is that his father is Woody Allen, and Woody Allen famously married his stepdaughter, his adopted daughter. And besides that being super weird, there is also allegations. And let me just look this up properly so I get this right, okay? Because I want to make sure that I get the details of this story.
Here,
absolutely correct.
While Adam's looking up the details to that, so Jesse, you look a little mind blown that his dad is Woody Allen.
His dad is Woody Allen.
Yes. So he has two famous parents. His mother is Mia Farrow, who's oh my God, what?
Yeah. So Mia Farrow is an enormous actress. I believe she was also married to Frank Sinatra, if I'm not mistaken.
She was.
Yes. So sorry. Let me,
and allegedly, that's their Frank Sinatra and Mia Farrow's son.
He sure looks like it.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a phone call. It screwed me up.
There's a Family Guy cutaway scene about that.
Yeah. So Mia Farrow and Woody Allen supposedly had Ronan Farrow, and then years later, Mia Farrow comes out and says, well, actually, he could be Frank Sinatra's kid. And if you look at photos of them next to each other.
Yeah.
It's very clear that he's Frank Sinatra's child.
Ronan Farrow is Frank Sinatra's son.
Now, his sister, Dylan Farrow, has come out with an allegation. And I'm not going to read it to you. You can look it up. It's gross.
It's gross.
A sexual assault allegation. And this is back in the early 90s when there was no, hey, believe them first, right? There was none of that going on. It was sort of like, oh, it's just somebody who's angry at Woody Allen and, whatever. And there are obviously multiple stories about this, but he married, as we've seen before, somebody that he adopted.
So Dylan Farrow is also Woody Allen and Mia Farrow's daughter.
That's his daughter. So she claims he sexually abused her.
Woody Allen did.
That's right. Now, the publisher who put this out, and now there's a book with this. It's a fascinating book. It involves like it doesn't involve like Ukrainian Israeli.
Is Israeli like spy intel? That's how the book starts. The book starts with, it sounds like fiction. The beginning of the book. You're like, is this a novel? Did I download the wrong book?
This is Ronan Farrow's book.
Yeah.
This is Ronan Farrow's book, Capture and Kill.
Asking questions.
I know, we're going all over the place. I promise we'll get back to Tiger King.
Okay, keep going.
Yes, it is. It's Ronan Farrow's book. It's called Capture and Kill. It involves Israeli spies. It involves cover-ups from major networks and major
two-timing
papers.
Lawyers.
Two-time. Oh,
remember
that reveal is banana. Sorry,
Jesse,
you gotta.
It's so good. It's so good. And then there's a podcast that accompanies it. Anyway, so
there's a bonus episode that just came out actually since Weinstein was convicted.
Oh, cool. Okay, I have to check that out.
Yeah, I'm only halfway through it. Yeah.
Here's the crazy part, Jesse. So you know all this, right? This book, after the Weinstein stuff, which led to it, and a snowball of a million different stories of people coming out and finally speaking their truth and all these great things. And then obviously the publisher releases Catch and Kill to talk about this. Ronan Farrow's publisher then buys Woody Allen's memoirs.
Okay.
So he's written his memoirs. His publisher, who's made $1 bazillion off this Catch and Kill book, has now bought his stepdad, the alleged sexual abuser, his works to talk about his life.
But then the employees of the publisher basically staged a walkout. Ronan Farrow was like, I will not work with this publisher anymore for as long as, and I think they have since ditched it.
Have they?
I think so.
It's crazy. It's a crazy story. Can you imagine, like there's just the blindness of the publisher. Like, yeah, we're just we'll go get Woody Allen's. Like, how bad do you need to make money that you need Woody Allen's memoirs? Like, is there nothing else?
Who made that decision? Like,
that's a really good. I wish they had that on the podcast because I'd love to know.
Yeah, because that's just evil, right? That's just someone trying to just be evil and do something really manipulative.
Well, so Ronan has been very like professional and political about it on Twitter. But who's his? Is it husband?
His husband, yeah, I believe
he's John something.
Yeah.
He's also a podcaster, and he's been on Twitter, and he's Ronan Farrow's rage translator.
Oh, really?
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Crazy, yeah. So it's a very interesting story, and it just keeps going and going and going. But anyway, back to Tiger King, which people are obviously now mad at us. But
let's talk about Felix Potvin. So I got this.
So Carol Baskin drops that line in there. Like, well, I've just covered it in, what was it?
Sardine oil.
Sardine oil. Yeah. Which, to me, is so interesting because I would have never in my life ever uttered the words sardine and oil in the same sentence. Ever. Uh-huh. I've had sardines once or twice in my life. They're fine. But sardine oil, there would be never a reason for me to bring that up.
Unless you know big cats really well and that you know if you covered something in sardine oil.
Who is talking about sardine oil?
Kill a human. Also, how dumb were the police in that whole situation? There's like, so there's a van that was just dropped off at the airport and they didn't search it until like 2 weeks later, and they allowed her to drive it back to their facility.
Yeah.
Without ever like looking for prints or maybe a body.
And then there's the telling part about like it's the whole weekend's gone by and he's missing and she's like, you think I should call the police?
Right.
And so you're getting a very biased look at all this. Like, of course, Joe Exotic is like, Carol Baskin fed her husband to a tiger, right? Like, and you get all those guys in his circle saying that Carol Baskin's now missing husband's lawyer sure seems to think it was her, although
he can't say it because he's a lawyer.
That's just my opinion, but he couldn't say it on account of he's a lawyer. Yes,
and
then Jesse.
And then his children, her husband's children, also they all sat there, all of his daughters, and were like,
and ex-wife who he abandoned,
and ex-wife, and we're like, Carol Baskins probably did something. And then the money issue about how immediately on the what is it? I think it's 2 years or whatever it was on the 2-year mark when she
2 years in a day
and she can collect the money, she does it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Well, and the thing is that people are often like, well, rage comes out in different ways, right? So you could say that like, they're grieving their father or whatever, and so their testimony could be biased. And here's the thing. I mean, listen, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know. But I have a hard time believing that you could hate somebody so much to accuse them of murder, but maybe I'm wrong. But you've got like 3 or 4 people doing it. Right? Like it's the assistant, his 2 daughters, and his ex-wife, and they're all like, yeah, pretty sure. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe she never fed him to tigers, but it's Florida, man. There's other places.
Do you imagine how big her land was? Just
What's
like
that?
you could bury him anywhere. It's fucking 60
Drop
acres.
him in the ocean.
Well, also, don't tigers? There was something in there about like there would be remains. No, don't tigers eat bones?
No,
tigers.
Pigs do.
Yeah. No, tigers, the bones would be left over, but you could discard of bones on a 60-acre land in Florida.
Yeah.
Like,
or
that's not a problem.
Yeah, like because there's no way they'd find them. 60 acres, forget it.
The sheriff didn't bring dogs to look for the body. They just kind of looked through the land and were like, all right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. But what's crazy, and this to me was the best piece of storytelling in the whole 7-episode series, and if you haven't seen it yet, you're well past the point of spoilers. They don't mention it or allude to it in the slightest until there's about 90 seconds left in the 2nd episode. And then the entire 3rd episode is, by the way, she maybe ought to kind of probably murdered her husband.
Right up until that point, you're like, oh, wow. There's a clear villain, and then there's a clear there's a clear good person here, and what you realize at the end of it is everybody's just terrible.
Yeah, Doc Antles definitely killed like his dozens of tigers. Like allegedly, I don't know.
Didn't he recently get arrested?
For some, there were some charges he got charged with for I think animal cruelty thing.
Yeah,
but
and they're all
not tiger murder,
and they're all just different versions of a cult.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. The one who had the wives? That was Doc Antle, wasn't it? Doc was the one with the wives,
The wives who he would like recruit at a very young age, put in some sort of cat costume, get them to change their name.
Yeah.
And pay him $100 a week.
Yeah. And give him $100 a week. And then the reveal of Joe Exotic. And I'm like, yeah, man, have your husband do your thing. Have 2 husbands. I guess I'm not big on the whole polygamy thing or what. They're both straight? Beggeth your pardon? That reveal was another.
Well, and then they're like, and they were doing a pile of meth too.
Right. He finds vulnerable drug addicts and he gives them meth. and he gets them to be his husband because he's feeding them drugs.
Yeah, man. Like the one who died, I can't remember. That's another crazy
kid.
reveal. It's just reveal after reveal after reveal. The look on the guy's face.
They have footage of a dude watching another dude shoot himself in the head.
Yes.
They have footage of that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's crazy. The one character I wish they had the other people in the, I say character like it's fiction. The one person who I wish they had the others talk about more was the guy. He talked really funny and he wore the silly cowboy hat.
Oh, the reporter.
The producer.
Yeah, what's his story?
I would love to know because and he's talking like the studio burns down and he's like, that's my retirement. And I'm like, where were you in your life where you're like, Joe Exotic is my retirement?
Well, you can see how maybe he thought that because Joe was a pretty out there character who definitely should have been on TV, except all the criminal stuff. But the thing I want to know is,
have you seen the clips that have come out since the documentary?
About what?
He should not have been on television.
No? Oh, I haven't seen that.
From the way it's like curated by that dude, I could see that. What's the store? I could see Joe Exotic coming on Discovery after Storage Wars.
Yes.
Like 100%. That type of show.
Yeah.
Joe Exotic's on at 8:30 after Storage Wars, and it's just this dude on this big cat farm doing crazy stuff with his
heavily
cat.
edited.
Like that's 100% a show that could have been on television. And that guy saw that vision. He couldn't bring it to fruition.
And they probably would have had like the Joe Exotic TV clips leak. And then it would have been like, oh, Joe Exotic has to apologize for shooting a mannequin. And that,
Joe
like,
Exotic
that's how
has to apologize,
down.
and very doesn't.
Yeah. But what's funny is that with that guy, he wasn't he on like Inside Edition in the early 90s? Like he was a good looking reporter who was obviously, he'd made a pretty good name for himself. What the hell happened in the 25 years in between?
Didn't he interview the president? Whoever it was?
Yeah. What's that?
Didn't he interview the president, whoever it was?
No, he was a very successful journalist reporter dude.
So what happened between then and now? And
what happens between
teeth are different, like everything. It's what happened.
Interviewing the living president and living on Joe Exotic's farm or whatever the hell you call it. What happens in your life?
I don't know. So I'm sad that they didn't get into that, and I wonder if that's. That's got to be a story in and of itself that they probably were like, we just don't have time to tell this.
And once his all the studio footage burned down in the little cabin in the back there, he kind of went away from it, right? He was kind of wasn't in the rest of the documentary.
So I was confused about that. Joe kind of accused him of blowing it up because he said Carol paid him off.
No, Joe burned it down.
Joe burned it down.
I think remember because he goes and talks to his lawyer, and the lawyer's like, "You're that dude." Well, I forget his name.
The dude owns you.
The dude owns all of that stuff. He owns the right. He owns everything. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, it's all burned down. Joe burned that down along with his alligators. I would think. I don't think there's a way that it accidentally burned down or anything.
And then he tries to blame it on Carol and then the reporter.
Yeah.
Which is the weird, it's so, yeah. Oh, he's when Cardi B came out and was like, Carol Baskin did Joe dirty. That might be true, but he still belongs in jail.
Oh, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's still awful.
Okay. So I tweeted something along the lines of, I think there's 3 good people, maybe good people, in the entire series.
How are you gonna find this? How are you gonna find 3 people?
I think there are 2.
Okay.
I
think her name is Saf, the one who got her arm torn off.
Yeah.
She was in it for the animals. That's it. She got her arm torn off and was not deterred.
It's also, but she went back to work within the week when she could have kept an arm and just rehabbed it. And signed a free, she was going to, she could have sued Joe's pants off. And she's like, no, I'll just sign this thing while I'm under duress. Is she a good person or is she kind of ignorant to the situation that's going on?
Well, being ignorant doesn't make you bad, but well, she probably thought I could take Joe to the cleaners, but at the end of the day, then it's going to hurt the animals that I care for.
Yeah.
Right? So there was her. There was that miserable dude who was basically in charge of the animals for the
blonde
final
guy.
years. Yeah, the blonde guy.
The Oakleys.
Yeah.
And
he's a good dude.
I liked him.
There's a good one.
But
He's
he
just
was
miserable.
Miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable, the poor guy. And the dude with no legs
Yes.
seemed mostly cool
okay,
without having seen it a second time and remembering everything he said. But
the thing with him is he genuinely, like, you know that clip they play at the end of Joe when they're talking about the launch of it, and Joe's zoo was originally a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Like the cats that he got were cats that were cats that he had to take because they had been pets and people were getting rid of them and they were going to be euthanized. Like Joe started like what Carol says she is, and as a sanctuary. And he said, well, we need to change the laws. And then he realized, oh, I can make like $5,000 a kitten if I breed these suckers.
Yeah. One thing about Joe is that his origin story is so pure. Like you feel for his heart because he was tragic. He was a gay kid who was like disregarded from his family. Like that story about him telling him he makes his dad shake his hand in front of his mom to guarantee that he won't be at his funeral. Like that's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
And you're like, you feel for this dude, and then you watch it after the sanctuary, and he's like, oh, I can make a bunch of money and go crazy.
Yeah.
To hanging out with a dude who puts baby tigers in a suitcase to pet in Vegas.
Oh, dude, man, when that guy walked in, like, okay, first off with that dude, how did you not know that guy was probably going to take the rug right from under you? And the way he does it is so, like...
Every stereotype of a shithead.
Yeah, that's fake money right there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know he was behind on his Ferrari payments.
Yeah, can I just address something that I've seen some people say? I'm not watching Tiger King because I'm not going to endorse animal abuse.
Who's endorsing it?
That is very extraordinarily not what you're supposed to take away from this series.
Well,
the Tiger King series is not to be like, this is good. All these guys are great. You think that's the takeaway?
Yeah.
Well, they haven't seen it. It's almost like when people say, I don't know, I don't watch Game of Thrones because I don't like dragons and stuff.
Or dragon abuse.
Or dragon abuse. There's lots of that going on.
I don't endorse the burning of villagers.
Or entire cities at the end.
Yeah, I don't endorse mass murder at weddings.
Yeah, this is true.
Like, what the fuck? That is not the takeaway.
All
That's
it is,
not
and
the takeaway at all.
Like, and I understand for people like, oh, animal abuse is triggering for me, and there are definitely some hard moments, and I get that.
Fair.
I totally
absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
But that's not the point. The point is you should be against animal abuse, and the entire documentary shows just how much you should be against animal abuse. And listen,
you should not.
Carol Baskin as a person is Carol Baskin as a person. I don't know her. I don't know her history, and I don't know that she. It seems a little fishy what happened with her husband. However,
also the new husband looks a lot like the old one.
He does.
Is she like sardine oil?
She's got, and the new husband.
Some people like fish.
The new husband we have to have a conversation about. But
yeah, we need to talk about him. That's a whole other thing.
Throughout that entire documentary, did you see one incident of animal abuse at her sanctuary?
You could talk about the conditions.
Yeah.
But in terms of like an animal getting
the rabbit thing that went viral, that wasn't that great.
But was it? Sorry, I guess it was tiger abuse. But yeah, the rabbit thing.
That.
Remember they took a picture of the.
They got to kill rabbits and give them to the tigers. I mean, tigers eat meat. You got to, I
don't endorse tigers eating rabbits. I don't endorse tigers eating meat.
But at least in that respect, assuming that what we saw in the documentary is somewhat accurate. I would say that at least, you can say what you want about her, whatever. At least those tigers are not hit with a cane or shot at or whatever else. Like when Joe's shooting that pistol, guys, those things are loud, and he's shooting them right by their ears.
The pistol, dude, explosives on like a nightly basis. This guy
and incendiary bullets.
He says this isn't anything you can't get over the counter in Walmart. What is going on in Florida where you can buy explosives at Walmart from a 19-year-old?
That's Florida.
That's Oklahoma. That's Oklahoma. But
sorry, Oklahoma. Sorry.
I mean, it's both, isn't it?
Same thing.
Any Americans? Where's the lie? I'm sorry. Like freedom, and then you watch this documentary and you're like, some freedom. Maybe not all the freedom.
Remember when he had the reporter on the thing, and he's like, Joe, what would happen if they changed the laws and took it? He's like, well, there'd be a gunfight. Like, and the reporter's like, that's a powerful statement. He's like, it is, because I mean it.
Also, multiple times they say on video, well, I'd murder Carol Baskins if I got the shot. Like,
dude, freedom of speech.
Come on, what?
That's not going to help you in a trial.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because there is a very brief moment in the series where you're like, yeah, how is she going to convict him? And then they start showing clip after clip after clip. And it's some of it's stuff that you've already seen throughout the series, and you're like, oh, yeah, no, he should be in jail.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Now, so what's funny to me is that Joe, I guess, I mean, I hesitate to say that he wouldn't be smart, but I forget the guy's name that comes in and basically steals the cat park from him.
I think it's Jeff Lowe. Is that
Jeff Lowe?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That guy, and it's so funny how they did it, because I think that's like the 5th or 6th episode, and he's like, yeah, he signs him on as an owner and then buys him out basically, and then like he's like, oh yeah, but he's like, why don't you just put everything in my name? Mm-hmm. You know, you got a lot of debts. Carol's going after you hard. Why don't you just put everything in my name, and then you can hide it from her and keep it, dude? Like you just gave him the park.
Yeah,
and like he didn't even have to keep you there.
You gave him your life's work. You gave him your life's work with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah. And then Joe's like, I'm going to use Jeff's money to run for governor. Like, and then he does that behind his back and forges his signature to get all this money to
run for governor after running for president.
After running a failed attempt at running for
president. Okay, so granted, he lost his run for governor, but the one thing they showed of the polls on election night, I'm like, he got 19% of Oklahoma.
Yeah, he finished
voted for
4th. Yeah.
Jesus H. Like, how many? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Exotic got almost 1/5 of the votes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the final was. That could have been like after 100 votes cast.
Yeah, but like Adam, like you were saying, Jeff Lowe's like the biggest crook. That he's just the definition of allegedly. He's allegedly the definition of that Vegas grifter who comes in and all of his stuff is rented and he's behind on all his lease payments and he looks like he has a bunch of money, but he really doesn't.
So one of the things that I couldn't understand is about this guy, and I guess because I've never been to Vegas, but like
you've never been to Vegas?
Never been to Vegas. No,
me neither.
I gotta go.
It's a trip.
I've heard that.
We said that a couple times.
Yeah, we want to go see a Golden Knights game.
Yeah, Golden Knights.
The issue I have is like, how are these girls, these young, good-looking girls, ending up in this dude's apartment? Like, are tiger cats that interesting? Are they? Like, because for me, like the little kittens that he sneaks in a suitcase. Mm-hmm. Like to me, I'd be like, nah, I don't want to go to your.
No, for the clout though. Like it's literally for IG photos.
I think there's a couple of things going on. I think there's allegedly, I think there's alcohol, drugs, money, and baby tigers. Allegedly. You know, I think if you combine all those things on a nightlife, and you're like, hey, I got all these things, and you could take a photo for IG, you might do that. You might take a photo for Instagram, you know?
Fair. I just realized the Virgin Radio's and logos in the back right now. I should probably take that down. I'm looking at the back like, that's familiar. Oh!
Free advertising.
All right, hang on.
Imagine if Adam was just Joe Exotic in front of the Virgin Radio. Goddamn Carol Baskin.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, guys. You know, it's a funny thing. There's so much about that show that perplexed me, but one of the things that really got to me, and maybe this is super lame and not interesting, but is people's motivations. So what I just said to you, like those young, attractive young women who are in Vegas having a good time, how do you end up in that guy's apartment? What's your motivation there? You know, and I'm trying to figure out the whole time what Joe Exotic's motivation is. And it just seems like I don't even know, like it's almost like it doesn't, because Jeff seems to be the only one in that show with real purpose.
To grift.
Right, to grift.
He grift. And he did.
And he did it.
Fuck
off. constantly.
In that regard, he did it in a legal way. You can't call him. Here's the thing, though. He might be, maybe, but in that regard, he did it legally.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Is the 50-something-year-old with a bandana under his hat reputable? I don't know. Who's to say? Does the guy who looks like he's going to frigging rip you off at every turn, is he going to do it? I don't know.
Is the blonde mullet guy.
Right.
Like, how reputable is he?
But I truly believe Joe's initial motivations, like his beginning, his origin story, it comes from a pure place.
Yes.
I think it comes from the love of his brother who passed away, and like his crazy the battle, I assume, within himself of just being a gay man in the southern part of the United States, and his love of cats, and he starts a sanctuary, and then somewhere along the lines, I don't know where it was, he becomes Joe Exotic, and he chases fame and money and murdering Carol Baskins.
And as a former zoo employee, let me be the one to let me cut you off there, Jesse.
No, go ahead.
No, well, because I saw a lot of people go, maybe we shouldn't have any zoos or anything. But like, it doesn't change the fact that there are a wild amount of wild cats privately owned in the States, and people discard them. People discard them like dogs.
Yeah. What's the thing they flashed on the screen? There are more big cats in the United States than there are in the rest of the world.
In the wild.
In the wild. Yeah. That's insane. You need sanctuaries just to control these big cats that are just in people's houses.
Yes, except you can't just bring the cat to a shelter and give it a loving home because it's a tiger.
Yeah.
It's not a Doberman.
No.
It's crazy, but like, and all zoos should be gone. Like one of the first thing that you saw when you walked into the Toronto Zoo was there was a bald eagle in a cage. And a lot of people went, "Oh, that's so cruel to that poor eagle." Meeksy. I know Meeksy. I saw Meeksy every day. Meeksy could not fly. They found it at the side of the road with a broken wing because it got hit by a car. That's why it was like animals require care. It's one thing if you capture it and bring it over. Sure. I can see how that'd be messed up.
Animals out of the wild require care. Animals that are injured and that have been other places other than their homes need care, and they need places like zoos and sanctuaries.
Well, and take a place like the Everglades. I don't know what Adam's doing.
Sorry.
Okay. Jesse, maybe but like, don't people just discard random exotic animals in the Everglades, and now they're just part of the ecosystem?
Yes. I don't know about that.
Yes.
Like pythons and shit?
Yep.
What? Where's the Everglades?
Florida.
In Florida.
Central
because
Florida.
Of course.
Yeah. Because it's just a big, watery zone. I actually took a tour there, and I don't even know if this was years ago, so I wouldn't have thought as much about animal rights, but they have those boats that have a big propeller on the back that is out of the water. The air propelled boats.
Yeah.
Like the fan?
Yeah, because they don't want to hit a manatee with the propeller, the prop in the water.
Is that why those are built like that?
Yeah. It's a huge issue in Florida because manatees and gators. And gators were for a long time in Florida endangered. I don't believe they are anymore. But, I went on a gator tour. I don't even know if that's supposed to be something you do anymore.
A thing.
But
you just gave a guy $5?
No. It was more than that.
Sure, I'll take you.
Yeah, hop on.
It's just a guy with a boat.
Yeah, it's $2,000 to get home though.
Yeah, you're not the guy on the card.
Or you're swimming.
Or you're swimming.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know if that even is like if that's against what because animal rights has changed so much in the last 20 years, right? The way we view these things has changed so much. So
it's changed the good way.
Yes, and to get back just super quick to something we mentioned earlier. I don't think anybody who's seen The Tiger King came away from it going, I want to go see some big cats.
No.
Nearby.
But if you
where do I let me type in local abused giantcats.com.
That's like somebody that is honestly anybody that says I don't want to watch it because I don't condone animal abuse. There's a difference. Yeah. Because I don't condone animal abuse means that that's like saying I've never seen a hockey game, but I don't think I'd like it because it's cold. You know what I mean? Like it's just completely out of the realm of what it is. What you're saying is I don't want to watch it.
which is fine.
Just say, I don't want to watch it.
Don't watch it.
Well, for whatever reason, but that's not a good reason.
You're not a hero for not watching this.
That's it. Yeah.
In fact, it actually wakes a lot of people. I'm glad it's out because it's woken a lot of people up to some facts that we just wouldn't have known about. Mm-hmm. And I know for a while in Ontario, you were allowed to have big cats in like barns and stuff, and people had them.
I don't like that here.
I don't believe you're allowed to have them anymore, but there's a big monkey problem here. Obviously the monkey with the shearling jacket that was at IKEA.
Monkey, yeah.
Someone I went to Ryerson with took that photo.
Really?
Took the world famous IKEA monkey photo.
Damn, it's one of the most famous photos in history. That's cool.
Yeah. I have a painting. Adam and I visited the sanctuary where the IKEA monkey stays. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what it's called?
No, I don't.
No.
And they were moving.
Yeah. They're trying to build a new one.
It was really sad.
But they did they had a monkey there named Pockets Warhol, and he painted pictures. And they gave us a picture to take home, and I still have it. It hangs in my living room. And cool. And Ricky Gervais has one, and I have one. So
that's right.
Jesse owns something that Ricky Gervais owns.
But like, there was all types of monkeys in there that were there because they were tested or they were in someone's home and they were cute at one point, and then they get dangerous. And that little monkey, what's his name? Darwin, the IKEA monkey, I think his name.
Yeah.
He is 5 times the size that he was in that photo. He's a baby in that photo. He's huge
and dangerous.
Very, very dangerous.
Oof.
Yeah. So
there was a breed of primate at the zoo. I can't remember what it was, but like you can't have 2 males in the same cage. They'll kill each other.
Yes.
Like you just
There was a couple monkeys there that if you look them in the eye, they would attack you. As in like the cage, there was a cage between you and them.
Yeah.
But somebody walked by them and slipped them a bit of a glance, and it, like this monkey, lost its mind. It was terrifying. Yeah. And they tell you, keep your hair, like if you got long hair, keep it, because they're going to grab it. And they are much stronger. You're not getting your hair back. Like as in they'll cut it off. Like it's not, it's a very sad thing. Exotic animals should be in the wild. They should not be in these positions. So if you are worried about watching the show for, because you think it condones this sort of thing, it absolutely doesn't. It's a very, very sad look at a very, very sad part of a part of the world that unfortunately exists. And sometimes you need to take a look at that. And you know what? It can be entertaining too. Both can be possible.
Yeah. Did you feel like, was the series too long?
No.
They
needed, where was the wasted space in there? They built it like stairs, man.
Yeah, that's true. It's every episode had like new integral characters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like it's episode 7. There's this guy who is extraordinarily important to the story. And I'm like, I've never seen, and now I got to get attached. And
he's the redhead guy.
I'm trying to, the dude who has the hair. He's got the the friggin' long version of the Oakland Raiders owner haircut.
Yeah. He does look like him.
Yeah. The shot of him riding the jet ski. Just why did they have that shot of him just
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I know it was legendary, but that was gratuitous. Like they didn't need to have.
That was awesome, dude. That's a meme for the next year.
They could have cut the jet ski scene by about 10 seconds to show everyone that John has teeth now.
No.
You know what I mean?
I don't think he had teeth by the time they finished the doc. But also,
I think they did. I think that's what he was complaining about.
But I'm saying that Jeff's scene was it could have even gone longer with him on that thing with the on the Sea-Doo, because this is where that documentary's so brilliant.
Yeah.
They knew what they had was entertaining, and they weren't afraid to be entertaining. And I think that there has to be, I think, especially in today's society, when you're going to blast them with crazy characters like that, there has to be some degree of levity. Like, oh my God, can you believe this show is so ridiculous that a guy who helped take Joe down and is now trying to take his old partner down is riding a jet ski and pulling up his sunglasses and I forget what the song was playing in the background, but it was very dramatic. Like that to me was their moment of like kind of winking at the audience, and that was like a levity moment. Okay. And I really
there's a reason like all of Joe's music videos are in there.
Yeah,
you need that comedy layer as
context.
Well. Like it's so absurd and ridiculous.
Well, and oh my God, I can't believe that's not actually Joe's voice singing. I'm like, What do you mean you can't believe the guy talks like Jake the Snake Roberts? What do you?
Yeah.
And you thought he would have this beautiful country singing voice?
Well, at his
I kind of thought he did.
At his
Adam,
husband's funeral,
Wild.
when he starts singing at his husband's
Oh,
funeral,
man.
and he starts doing his Type 5 for the Comedy Store, like, dude,
And
time and place.
and his ex-boyfriend's, or I guess his deceased boyfriend's mother's like, and it was all about him.
Husband.
Ugh.
Husband, yeah, mother-in-law. But she's
Mhm.
like, it was all about him. Like, he made the whole funeral about him. Like, this is a guy that truly lost it, or lost where he was. So anyway,
Lost the plot, I believe they would say in Britain.
that's probably what it is. So
Yes.
anyway, I'm sure we missed something.
That's,
I don't
most
know. It
things.
feels like everybody keeps saying, "Oh, we'll never have one of those shows that everybody's watching." Like after Game of Thrones is gonna be the last one, but then something like Tiger King comes along and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
You know, I think we'll still have these moments where something comes along that's so absurd and so well put together and digestible that everybody's gonna be into it. I don't think we've lost that era in TV and media.
At such an absurd moment in history. Like, Tiger King was going to be the top Netflix show no matter what. It just happened to come out the week everyone had to lock themselves in their house.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
happened.
Literally during a historic pandemic. And now everyone's inside and everyone's seen but you're a hero for not watching the thing that everyone's seen.
No, don't worry. Hey, Mr. Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm a hero for that.
Meat kettle.
The reason I haven't watched Game of Thrones is my own sloth. I
Oh.
don't feel like, dude, it's a great undertaking. And now I've ruined it because kind of like I've ruined The Sopranos. I know too much of what's
Nah, you
happened
haven't.
to go
You
back
don't.
and watch the whole
Trust
thing.
me, you don't. Trust me, you don't.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So
there's
even-
too much.
I mean, I
There's
got
too much.
time now, I guess.
It's so especially the first 3 seasons are so in depth. There's no way that you could, even if you know what's going on, it's how it happens. It's
Lord of the Rings or
never what
Sopranos?
happens. It's about what happens.
Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Game of Thrones? Oh, okay.
Game of Thrones is way better than Lord of the Rings.
Or did I
Way
say
better.
Lord of the Rings? Sorry.
You said
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
My bad.
In terms of like storylines and stuff. And I love Game of Thrones, I love Lord of the Rings, but Game of Thrones is better. Better.
Even if you know, like from Twitter, even kind of what sort of happened, you don't know.
You don't know.
It's
Okay.
too intense.
Remember, it's why it happened.
Yeah.
It's usually why it happened that's important, right? Here's the event. Let's work backwards. That's why Quentin Tarantino usually gives you the end at the start of the movie, right? Because it's not about what happens. It's about why. So anyway, I think you'll really, really love that. Now, Jesse,
Yes.
can you pull up that knee slapper of a player's poll for us? Speaking of Joe Exotic level
Here.
content, here you
I
go.
got
with
it here.
Wacky characters.
All right.
Steve hates it already.
Do you want? We'll start with the on ice stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of categories. I'll read what the NHLPA put at the start of it. They said nearly 600 NHL players were surveyed on more than 20 hockey-related questions. Players weighed in on a variety of topics covering skills, arenas, teams, and some off-ice fun. And fun has an exclamation point at the end of it. So here are the results. On ice, who is the best forward? Now, do you guys want to take a guess or do you just want to hear it and then react?
Let's take a guess. I'm going to say Connor McDavid.
I'll say Sid.
Connor McDavid at 68%.
Wow.
That's a lot more than I would have thought. I would have thought it'd be like 40%.
Yeah. Second place, 14%, Sidney Crosby.
Only 14?
Yeah.
Was Nate McKinnon third?
Nate McKinnon was third at 6%, and then fourth is Kucherov, 2%.
Wow. Which is all his Tampa Bay teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Best defenseman, Victor Hedman,
Not
37%.
Petrangelo number 2?
I'm surprised he got that high.
Yeah. Take a guess at number 2.
Petrangelo.
No. Steve?
Hockey play. Okay, so these player polls, their answers are always 3 years out of date. So
Brent Burns.
I'm going to say Drew Doughty.
John Carlson,
Really?
That's up to date.
21%.
He's a great player.
The next 3 were Yossi, Doughty, and Burns.
Hey, there you go.
So we got 2 or 3 of those.
Not bad. Not bad.
Best goalie. This one's. I think
That's still going to be Price, right?
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter, actually.
Even that one's out of date. Like, he's not.
He's not.
41% said Carey Price.
That's wild.
So here's what's more important. Who was number 2? And I'm going to say Vasilevsky.
Steve?
They're gonna like John Marc-Andre Fleury.
Vasilevsky is
Who's third?
second place. Marc-Andre Fleury.
Wow.
And then Bob is fourth.
Bob?
Yeah.
Bob.
Sergei Bobrovsky.
When did they take this poll?
Pull up Bobrovsky's numbers from this year.
Oh my holy Lord.
When did this poll must have happened October 1st.
I hope so.
July
Otherwise,
1st.
there's a problem.
Yikes.
Yeah, it doesn't say when they surveyed them, but it just came out. So
Sergei Bobrovsky. Okay, Sergei Bobrovsky ended the season with the Panthers struggling, but I believe he was on a hot streak. In 50 games, he's 23, 19, and 6. So he's over Bettman 500, but has lost more games than he's won. And he has a 900 save percentage. It is, looking back on his career, the second worst save percentage of his entire career. The second worst. He's had an incredible run. 63 games, 931. That's unbelievable. 65 games, 921. That's unbelievable. The previous season, 62 games, 913. Not nearly as good, but with that kind of workload, especially for 3 straight years, unbelievable. 900. That's horrible.
Mm-hmm. That's like saying, "Wow, Martin Jones is having a great season." Like it's no.
All right. If you need to win one game, who is the one player, any position you would want on your team? Who do you think they said?
That's Sid.
Yeah,
That's
I think Sid.
Sid it is. Sid, McDavid, McKinnon, Bergeron.
Bergeron's a good pick,
Bergeron is a good pick.
And
Bergeron's a very good pick.
Boy,
from
talk
experience.
About big game guy. Holy.
Yeah.
From experience, that's a good pick.
Most complete player also went to Crosby. And then Bergeron, Barkov, Ryan O'Reilly.
Okay.
Man, everyone gave me shit last year when I called Ryan O'Reilly one of the top 10 centers in the league, and everyone's like, no.
Did they? People gave you shit for that?
People gave me
Ryan
shit
O'Reilly?
For that. Yes.
But when did you say it?
That was pre-St. Louis playoff run.
See.
Oh, no, I said it after the Sabres trade, actually. That's what I said. I said that's a pretty good, pretty easy trade for St. Louis to make for one of the top centers in the league. People are like, what are you talking about?
Could you name 10 centers who are better than Ryan O'Reilly, Steve?
That's interesting. Okay, well, Sid.
Connor.
McDavid.
Tavares? Barkov? Is Barkov something?
Barkov for sure. So there's 3. I would probably say Bergeron. Is Tavares like clear-cut better than O'Reilly? Like, he's a better offensive player by far.
That's 5.
And then O'Reilly you might want more defensively. But
I'll give you that 5. So
Austin's got to be better, right?
Oh, yeah. I think he's a better
6.
player.
I know he's not as good defensively. He's a 50-goal scorer. Like what?
Yeah.
Right. So you got 6?
Backstrom?
Not anymore.
No.
Not anymore.
I'd take
Okay.
O'Reilly over.
Kuzi? Is Kuzi?
Kuznetsov? Yeah, probably. I mean, or he's on par with. But the point is, making the point right now, the point is, find me, like, it wasn't that much. I wasn't that far off.
No, I would say
No, you're right there.
Before he won the Conn Smythe, I would say that would be a bit of a hot take. But no, time has proven you correct. You're right.
Who's the best trash talker?
Oh, I did see this one.
No, you did?
It has to be Marchand, right?
It's Brad Marchand, yeah. Second place was, do you want to guess?
No, I know what it is.
Oh, you know all of them. It's Drew Doughty.
Oh, okay.
Third place was Ryan Reeves.
Reeves.
Yeah. Patrick Maroon.
Okay.
Now,
Maroon. Interesting. I thought Evander Kane would be on there because he's a good chirper, isn't he?
Yeah.
No,
or
but
Kachuk.
either of them.
Yeah.
No, but Jesse's about to.
Yeah.
So
okay.
worst trash talker also went to Brad Marchand.
I don't know what makes you best or worst. I think it's just.
Second was Drew Doughty.
Okay.
Third, PK Subban. And then fourth, Nick Cousins.
Nick,
really?
Wow.
Nick
Yeah.
Cousins?
I don't know. I guess he must be really bad because who notices if Nick Cousins is trash talking?
No, but okay,
He's obviously made an impact, Jesse.
It's a combination of guys who are actually bad at trash talking and guys who have, like, the people saying them, they're not mad.
No,
they're not mad at all.
Right.
Yeah, PK Subban's bad at trash talking. I'm not mad.
Oh, yeah.
Nor have I ever been mad. Same with how is Brad Marchand the best and the worst, and Drew Doughty is the second best and the second worst.
I also think Brad Marchand and Drew Doughty probably take more swings for the fences than the other guys do. So you're going to hit on a few, and you're going to strike out on others. And
I think Subban made that list because he's pissed off people on the ice because he's good at it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Without question.
Like, how is I want to know if anyone voted for Nas. God, I miss him. He still had. Why didn't it get more attention that, like, on mic, like it was caught barely, but it was on mic during an Avalanche Sabres game. Kadri goes to Brandon Montour and he goes, "You're a shitty fucking defenseman on a shitty fucking team."
Is that trash talk or is that the truth?
Well, I wouldn't say he's a shitty fucking defenseman. I would say he's on a shitty fucking team.
Yeah.
Of all the players, past or present, who would you pay to see play? You guys want to take a guess at this one?
Sorry, what is that again?
Of all the players, past or present, who would you pay to see play?
I know.
See, there's a giant chunk of the NHL that never saw Gretzky play in their life.
Yeah. I saw him live.
When?
I saw him live once.
I never saw him.
When he was with the Rangers right at the end of his career, 98.
In Toronto?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, never saw him.
Might have seen him twice. The first game I ever went to was a Rangers-Leafs game, and I can't remember much about it. But I think the second one I went to was with my mom. We sat beside a couple really nice Rangers fans. They were telling me about Ulf Samuelsson and Ty Domi getting into a fight. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to say Bobby Orr.
First on the list is Wayne Gretzky, 31%.
I was going to say Mario. I would have said Mario.
Second on the list is Bobby Orr, 14%. Third is Mario, 9%. And fourth, the only current player, Connor McDavid, 7%.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. McDavid is getting to this point. It's a shame for his reputation because really all he's got to do now is win and just be accepted widely. But until you get that playoff success, it's going to be difficult to get over that barrier of Sid and all of them. But the way you hear people talk about him and playing against him, everyone knows every single game, no matter how good or bad the Oilers are, they're fucked when they go up against McDavid.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you do other than pray you don't have to get on the ice with him?
I hope he misses the shot.
Yeah. Oh, I hope he misses the shot that he's going to get because I cannot stop him.
Yes.
So this one was a little weird, I thought. The question was, would you like to see players' personalities expressed on their equipment? And if so, how? And then the answers given were skates at 40%, sticks 4%, 3% helmet. So I guess they want like how basketball shoes, everybody has their own basketball shoe. They want their own skates with their own personalities on it.
I think that. I like that too. I think your helmet's a part of your uniform. That's just me. I don't know why. I mean, everything is, but I like the idea of cool skates. And also it's a great way for like CCM and Bauer to upsell their product anyway. You can buy the McDavid special skates that are cool. Like goalies are allowed to personalize their helmets. Why can't players?
That's interesting.
That's a good point.
And it would be kind of like
interesting.
It would be like imagine 20 different helmets on each team, but like your skates would be something. And it'd be kind of neat to have like stick designs that are more than just like this is black and white and this is red and black and this is white and blue and like, and there's just a bunch of like Bauer and then these weird swishy logos down the side. It'd be very cool to have that. I don't know.
It is kind of dumb that like the greatest customization I can think of on a non-goalie is like Ovechkin has yellow laces.
Which are just wax laces.
Yeah, like whoa.
I put those things that hold your blade to the bottom of your skate.
Yeah.
It might be a player when he's not out with a hernia or 2 concussions. He has red ones.
Wow.
And I have red and black laces. I really like red and black. So,
Wow.
I think
pretty cool.
I think NHL the NHL video games are going to sort of help bring that era in of customization and all that.
I think the younger players want it too.
Yeah.
You can buy everybody's like stick now, but what you're buying is really just the name on the side and their curve.
Yeah, you always could, but like their curve was never actually their real curve either.
Yeah.
They're already drawing on their gloves and sticks and shit. Like it's going to happen.
The next question was, who is the best female hockey player in the world? Did you guys see this one?
I saw Greg Wyshynski tweeting about a caveat.
Oh,
to go with
I don't know
it.
what that is.
So suppose here,
I can give you the answers, and if you want to pull up,
give us the answers.
Greg said.
I will.
So the answers were 39% said Marie-Philippe Poulin, 36 said Hilary Knight, 15 said Kendall Coyne Schofield, and 1% said Emily Matheson. So what did Greg say about that?
Seems about right.
Sorry, well, I was just Greg Wyshynski retweeting the Ottawa Senators an hour ago. 4 additional members of the Ottawa Senators organization who traveled to California before the NHL season pause tested positive for COVID-19.
Yikes. So the community spread there somewhere.
Jesus H.
Yikes.
Sorry, I'm still scrolling here. You guys talk.
Does
While
Greg
I try
tweet
to
a
find
lot?
this? Yes, he does. A shitload. Love you, Greg, but Jesus Lord. He's a bit of a tweeter.
The next one I can give right now because I don't think it's something we need to spend much time on.
The caveat was basically they only gave players 4 options to choose from or something like that. So out of these 4 people, who do you think is the best?
It was kind of just scribble in the circle.
Yeah, so some people were a little sour about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be in favor of a relaxing game day dress code? 73% said yes. Funniest player in the NHL?
Funniest player in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I bet Brad Marchand makes the list.
Yeah.
Because they called him the best trash talker.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Gardner seems like he's a good time.
X-Leaf is on there.
So it could be Jake, maybe.
X-Leaf.
An X-Leaf not named Jake Gardner.
Not Nas.
Plays in the Western Conference.
Oh, maybe it is.
I'm going to say
Bozak?
top. I'm going to say is Marchand. I think Nas is on that list.
Keith Yandel comes in at number 1. Funniest player in the NHL.
Because he's a huge the guys on Chicklets love him.
Okay.
Really? I've never heard Keith Yandel talk. So
yeah, I haven't either. But I'm sure he's great. Well, that's great. I'm sure he's
second
fun. Place,
Drew Doughty. 3rd, Brad Marchand. 4th, Phil Kessel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it.
How is he simultaneously a good teammate and a bad teammate?
Right?
He seems like the sort of guy, if he wasn't so private, would you not love a show just dedicated to following Phil Kessel around in his life?
100%. 100%.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It'd be fascinating. It'd be the story to be told once his career's done.
Oh man. There's got to be a documentary coming someday.
Yeah.
Which players have the best bromance? It was Prawn and Ryan O'Reilly. Second place was Thornton and Burns. 3rd, Matthews and Marner. 4th, Kachuk and Doughty.
Okay. Kachuk and Doughty.
Yeah, that's tongue in cheek, right? There's your hockey answer.
I sure love that one. By the way, David Perron. So I came across this in my research for something I was doing the other day. From the 2007 draft, David Perron is 5th in scoring. That guy's had a super underrated career.
Yeah, he bounced around, had a really bad time at Edmonton too, really bad. And it was almost like, was he washed? Remember when he went there and then he sort of picked up his career again in Vegas?
David Perron's been washed. And here's the thing, his career high in points is 66.
He's like the ultimate second, third line guy.
Just super consistent. His career high in goals is actually this year. Or no, it's not. He has 25, but he was probably going to pass his career high in Edmonton, actually, of 28. His final season in Edmonton, Maron, in 38 games, he had 5 goals and 14 assists. Yeah, he's just been one of those, really consistent players. You know what to expect from him almost every year.
Best player to follow on social media, PK Subban. And then Ovi, Brad Marchand, and then Max Domi.
Max, good follow. Yeah.
He's very active, and he's very active.
Yeah. I guess I should follow Ovi. I don't follow him.
He's a good follow.
Yeah?
Ovi's pretty good. Fun kids. Yeah.
Okay. PK, I follow. Him and Lindsey Vaughn are just in every video together. They're always hey, we're at our kitchen doing fun stuff. And then Like it's
what is that, Adam?
You're like, hey, Lindsay, and then she'll come in and be like, what, and you're like that, like, you know, it's like your parents, like, oh, your dad's just over here doing this, and he's like, oh, I don't want to talk right now, you know, like it's just, I don't know.
Here's me annoying my spouse.
Yeah, that's basically the formula, isn't it?
Well, they got voted best, so
Yeah.
That's so many people.
Oh, I got traded. Here I am with the New Jersey Devils cap. Wow. You know what? You remember that video?
Oh yeah.
No,
Here's me working out a lot.
I enjoy it. I follow James Harrison, who used to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and that's all he does is he just fucking crushes weight. The guy's insane. And
yeah.
And it's worth following. I don't know, man. It's like, damn, that guy, he pushes a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I followed him because he was a Steeler, but I kept following him because I'm like, I just want to see him. He does pull-ups, and this guy's got to be 250 pounds of just raw muscle. He does pull-ups with one of those things around his waist that hold a couple of 45-pound plates, and then he's just doing this, and then he's doing the wide grip. And you're like, what the?
Oh my God.
This is ridiculous.
Like that's another breed of human.
Yes.
Do you know how hard just a regular body weight wide grip pull-up is?
Very, very hard.
You know what percent of the population can do one of those cleanly?
I don't know. No, it
And
can't be
this
much.
friggin' guy's ripping them with weights?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
His traps, I'm pretty sure, are bigger than like every muscle in my body combined.
He's like a flying squirrel.
Yeah, he's just huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Let's go to best nickname. At 8%, Thomas Tatar won it. Do you know his nickname?
Is it fish? I don't
Adam?
know. Is it sauce?
I have no idea.
It's tuna.
Hey!
All right. Tuna.
Tuna, hey, big tuna.
Hey, tuna.
Andy.
when Jim gets is engaged, tuna.
Tuna, come here.
Since it's hockey, let me guess. The dozen guys around the league nicknamed Soup.
Our next?
We got 2 on the Leafs.
Yeah.
Next, second place is Pasta, David Pastrnak.
Mm-hmm.
Third is Panarin, Breadman.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And fourth, Christian Fisher. Do you know his name? His nickname?
Jesus Fish. I don't know.
It's Stinky. Christian Stinky Fisher.
Why?
Fourth place.
Does he
I
smell?
don't know.
There's a story there. Somebody please do an article.
Best golfer is Joe Pavelski.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go. And then we're going to move to arenas and teams, which is the last category. Best visitors dressing room, Edmonton.
Oh, yeah. I can see
Interesting.
that.
Yeah, that's brand new
Beautiful,
Rexall
Oh,
place.
true.
Yeah.
Rogers.
And then,
Rogers place.
sorry.
Yeah.
You mean
Steve will get fired.
TSN 1050 place?
That's right.
What? Boy, you really ignited this conversation.
Whoa.
Rogers Ignite. You see.
Hey, this is me talking into my remote. I'm talking into my remote. Bring up your remote. Bring up Steve Dangle.
And you know what?
I don't know why I find that
does.
so funny, but
It does.
Hey, how many goals did Connor McDavid score anyway? I could look this up on my phone, but I'd rather talk to my remote. Hey, remote.
No, what my remote? Show me the best YouTuber, Bloom, and then I come up.
I don't think that's what happens. Is that what happens?
Prove it doesn't.
I think Nasher would probably come up.
Wow. Okay, I'm on the first page when you say best YouTuber. You got to scroll.
Nasher, how to hockey.
Listen, there's some scrolling. All right. I get that friggin' the hockey guy pushed me off the Mount Rushmore there for subscriber count. It's fine. And I'll be my own mountain.
Are you
I don't give a
upset?
shit. We should have him on, by the way.
Best jersey.
Shan Boomstick.
Oh, okay.
Best jersey. Who do you think it is?
Hockey guys always talk about the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I like their jersey, but I don't know.
I'm gonna say the Blackhawks.
Yeah, they always say the Blackhawks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that's the answer.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh,
It is.
Well,
28% said the Blackhawks. Second place, Golden Knights.
I like the
Third
Golden Knights jerseys.
Yeah.
I like
Third place, the Leafs.
Hey, they are. You know what? Pete Blackbird made a really good tweet like 6 months ago, and I never forgot it. He's like, because it was something about David Clark. Actually, it was like more than that. David Clarkson, when he was traded back to the Leafs, and they had a shot of him like in a Leafs jersey playing, and Pete Blackbird tweeted something to the effect of, "Man, I forgot how ugly those old Leafs jerseys were." And the new one is so nice. You're like, oh yeah, that old Leaf was ugly as hell, and they had that for like 50 years, and they never changed it. It was awful.
With the sharp edges Leaf.
Yeah. That was like the Harold Ballard. This is my team now. You know, and it never changed.
Best ice is Bell Center, 31%. Second place.
I can believe.
What a great arena to see a hockey game too.
Oh, yeah, when we went there for your bachelor party, Adam, that was a good one.
Man, that was fun.
We also saw the home team win 10-1.
Yeah, which was great. In a bad year, too.
Yeah, that was wild.
Awesome time. I want to go see a Leafs Habs game. That's on the bucket list in Montreal.
We saw Gallagher and Lehkonen afterwards. And
it was Lehkonen.
They had shoulder injuries from raising their arms so much.
Best mascot went to Gritty, obviously.
Yeah, he's the best.
Of course.
And that's the end with good mascots, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the John Oliver thing, though, that the Phillies might lose the Philly Fanatic?
Yeah, because they don't own the rights to the costume.
Yeah, and they have to change him up, and they changed his nose, which is his most defining feature.
And now it looks like some weird thing, the weird honking thing.
What?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Dude, you got to watch it. I can't explain it, but essentially they leased it for, was it 30 years, Jesse? From the company that made it. And now they had to change the Fanatic in spring training, and people hated it. It was like here's the thing. Here are two organizations that have been saved by baseball not being played this year: the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies mascot.
We talked about it. I was looking forward to hate watching the Astros all summer.
Oh, it'll still happen, even if they don't play games. Next year, it'll still happen.
You'll have to
We
be
were
reminded.
going to get tickets to Jays Astros, which is coming up in like a couple of weeks. Well, was supposed to come up in a couple of weeks, and we're going to go, and it's going to be a good time. And no, that's going to happen.
It still will be. They'll still be mad. Yeah, people have not had their chance to boo, and people do not forget. So when baseball does come back, I'm sure that will too. Anyway.
I hope so.
That's the end of the players poll.
All right. Okay.
That is it for this one.
What did you learn?
No.
I learned hockey players are a little bit more creative than I thought. Actually, that's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay.
That's not as bone-chillingly douchey as I thought it would be.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I want to just do a quick shout out to a band that does a lot of great Canadian music, and also they're becoming bigger in the States and that sort of thing. The Born Ruffians, who have been big followers of our show for a long, long time.
Oh yeah.
They sent me a link to their new album, which I've heard, and it's awesome. And there's a new album coming out for the Born Ruffians. And so if you don't already follow them, they're a great indie band. Absolutely need to check them out. They're just wicked, and they've always been huge supporters of the show. So we got to pay that support back. Check out their new album. It's great.
I've heard it as well. And it is fantastic.
Yeah.
It comes out on this Friday, the 3rd. It comes out, so go get it. It's awesome.
And it's nice to have new music during a pandemic because everybody's putting off their albums.
Yeah.
Well, no, Lindsay Lohan is coming out. So once I'm done with that, Born Ruffians, I'll get to you.
She is dropping
Lindsay Lohan
this week, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm just looking up the other things that I need to bring into. Okay, so why don't we just do the press conference, shall we?
Sure.
It's my new favorite part of the show. I got a ridiculous amount of DMs on Instagram and Twitter about this segment.
What segment?
That I am dubbing Adam's History Corner. So today, our question comes from Dominic Hung, dumhung_604. asks, Adam's thoughts on the Battle of Thermopylae. Am I saying that correctly?
Thermopylae is correct.
Could be both the true battle or a Glory 300 movie. I assume there's some correlation.
Yeah, because 300 is what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Is it? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's Thermopylae.
Okay.
And I believe that's where the word marathon comes from as well, because they sent a runner back, one guy, back to Sparta to warn them that the Persians were there, and he ran he ran basically back to Sparta, and I think it was like 40 kilometers or something, and then dropped dead once he got there to deliver the message. Like, he just didn't stop running.
So who's this battle between?
It's between the Achaemenid Persian Empire and the Spartans. And so you have a history here because Darius was the original guy that tried to invade the Greek city-states, because Greece wasn't
unified.
It was just like, I live in a city and you live in a city 10 kilometers away. Let's go to war. And they would have like a war season where they'd all kind of bring their pikes out and go to war. And then they'd, you get this farmer's field and I'll give you this kind of gold, and then that's over. But then the Persians came in and said, no, we want all of it. And what they tried to do was what they always did. They call it the carrot and stick thing. And I'm totally ripping Dan Carlin off here. But basically what they said was, hey, listen, we could overwhelm you and kill everyone and make you our slaves, or you could join us. You can keep your religion. You can keep your thing. You can do whatever. You do have to worship our king though, as well as your religion. That's fine. And you have to pay us a little bit of a subsidy every year for, you have to pay us some money, some taxes. But other than that, everything seems fine. So most cities were like, okay. But then you had some holdouts. But for some reason, when attacking Athens, and I forget how this happened, Darius was stopped. And so Xerxes, his son, came back years later with this enormous army and landed. And the story goes that 300 Spartans stood against them at what was called the Hot Gates, which sounds like a Pornhub title, but it is actually, it does. But it's basically, it was like, here's the way through the mountains to get to Sparta, Athens. I forget, Thebes probably would have been another city. Is it Thebes? Anyway,
I'm not sure.
Basically the way into Greece from where they landed. And so these Spartans sat there, and the way that the Spartan warrior code dictated, like there were Athenians there as well, but they kind of bounced after the second day. Spartans your whole thing was you wanted to die on the battlefield. That was the goal. So you weren't going to run. You had very, very high morale. You, from a very young age, were living in a very extreme society. Men and women were separated except to give birth to babies mostly. They were known for, like, they were encouraged to sleep with each other. Like the warriors were encouraged to sleep with each other rather than women. And they used to actually shave women's heads in that society so they would look more like men.
It was
considered not manly to sleep with women. It was considered manly to sleep with another man. And they were raised from birth to be warriors. And if you weren't strong enough, like if you were born with any physical
like deformity,
they'd throw you off a cliff. Like it's a crazy sort of society. But
like literal cliffs.
Literal clips. They'd just kill you. Yeah.
Or is that the movie?
No. That's real. That's real.
Okay.
That was part of the doctrine. Yeah.
Wow.
And you were from a young age with this group of people. So you imagine, right? I mean, it's a completely different worldview from what we would have. But imagine that the three of us had grown up together. We've been warriors the whole time. We're also banging each other because that's the manly thing to do. And we've grown. We've gone through every formative thing together. You've gone through learning how to read and write and fight. And I don't even know if they could read and write, honestly. The Athenians could, but I'm not really sure the Spartans could. But you went through, puberty together and all the things that bond people. So you're fighting shoulder to shoulder with essentially the people. You didn't know your parents that well, so the people that you've known your whole life, essentially your family. And so what it did was created this intense high morale that very few armies in the history of the world have ever been able to replicate. Maybe you have like the Japanese army in World War II with like very, very, very high morale because they had this sort of warrior society. And it was a very, like by our standards, very abusive and very mean and awful and that sort of thing, but it made them great warriors for the time. And so they stood there and essentially held the Persians up so the rest of the Greek city-states who were all fighting with each other and bickering could get their shit together and turn the Persians back. So Thermopylae is known because it's a heroic thing. The king obviously died there as well, Gerard Butler.
The Scottish Greek king.
That's right. Yeah. And Thermopylae is important for a lot of reasons. Obviously it's like David and Goliath story, right? It's very small number versus an enormous number. And they say in the text, it's like 300 people versus 1 million. Now they were to supply a 1 million man army. The logistics in that are insane.
Like 3,000 years ago, or 4,000 years ago.
When was this? Like
this would have been, I think, 500 BC, something in there. Like it was not. Yeah. It was pre-Alexander the Great, because Macedonia then came in and kind of took over that, and then his father was like, so it was like
August or September 480 BC.
There you go.
Oh, you almost nailed it. You said 500.
Wow. Jesus Lord, Adam.
That was a lucky guess, man. Lucky guess. I was just kind of backdating it. Well, I'm like, shit. It's like Jesus, Julius Caesar, Roman Empire, and
I don't know,
Alexander, which was in the 3s, I think, and then.
Your Corsi on guessing history dates is very high.
Good, yeah.
Pretty good.
Good scoring up.
Yeah.
And so essentially the world could have been completely different, right? You think about what Persian culture was at the time and what it still is, and many of the things that are part of Persian culture right now were things that were part of Persian culture back then. It's a very ancient, rich in culture, rich in heritage thing that we don't really have a great grasp of in our world, because we were the other side of that. And I say we as in ethno-Europeans who then turned into North Americans, who were taught the ethno-European way of looking at the Battle of Thermopylae. And the ethno-European way is the Greek way. We don't have, and we didn't have, Persian translated texts from that time that told their side of the story, which would have been different. The Battle of Thermopylae,
we brought baked goods.
Yeah.
We brought muffins.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fuck? They brought spears and shit.
It was the akin to, for the Persian Empire was so big and so powerful that them losing at Thermopylae would be like me stepping on a piece of Lego. It's like, ow. And then you don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But to the Greeks and to Greek philosophy and Western philosophy, at least this is what we think, had the Persians taken over, that probably wouldn't have been such a foundational piece of what we consider to be civil society and what they considered certainly during the Enlightenment, and what the Romans took. Does Rome exist if Persia takes over Greece? What's to stop it to go into Italy? Because Italy was way, way, way less developed back then. So, what would have stopped them? And so that's that's sort of the interesting part about that is the ethno-European view is it was an enormous battle, world-changing. We wouldn't have Europe as we know it today. We wouldn't have Western thought as we have it today, Western liberalism as we have it today. And the Persian perspective is, I mean, man, you're gonna lose some small skirmishes every once in a while. It was a small skirmish. It was nothing. It's 300 people. And
I'm looking. Sorry, go ahead.
And there, by the way, there's no flipping way that there was 1 million soldiers there. Not a chance. Not going to happen. Maybe 50,000. That's a number that makes sense.
There were less than 1 million. There were less than 1 million Persian troops there, and there were more than 300 Spartans there.
Probably.
There were much more. Much more people there because, like you said, all the other little factions that helped out and then maybe disappeared. And then...
And you might. And the interesting thing about that battle is you may have had Greeks on the Persian side. In fact, you probably did, because a lot of Greek city-states said, I don't know, man, that sounds like a great deal. I just got to pay you a little fee every month. I'm already paying taxes anyway. Who cares?
And I'm just looking at there's like Spartan stoicism and like all these cool quotes and badass quotes that they used to say. A bunch of the things in the movie, like in the 300 movie, are based on legendary supposed quotes that they actually said, like the come back with your come back with this shield or on it. That's a good one. Then we shall fight in the shade is an actual one. On the eve of battling the 300, Dionysius, a Spartan, learned from an informer.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure I said it wrong. A Spartan learned from an informer that the Persian arrows were so numerous they would hide the sun. Dionysius listened to the foreboding news and replied to his informer, "You bring us good news. For now, we can fight in the shade."
Right. And then there was at the beginning where they have the emissary from the Persian Empire shows up and says, what do you want? Get out of our way and we'll make it easy for you. And I forget what Gerard Butler says, and then he kicks him in the chest and puts him into the thing. Like,
what?
He says, like, I don't know, Jesse, have you seen the movie?
No, I've never seen 300.
Okay, so you should see
It's
300.
It's a great dumb watch.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like, I mean, we got, if this is the movie watching golden era, which pandemic, I guess it is, then I would watch 300. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where a Persian emissary shows up. And he basically offers what I told you the Persians normally offer, although they make him look like a real villain, like an arrogant SOB. And there's a quote in there, and I forget what it is, but Gerard Butler says something and then kicks him in the chest, and then he falls into a well. And they leave him there.
Oh, wow.
A bottomless pit.
Which is weird because that's your drinking water, so you would think that they probably wouldn't normally leave him there.
Yeah, a body in water.
There's a million historical iffies in that. There's a really good one that's not in the movie, and I want to read that, and then I'll leave it alone.
No, do it.
A perfect representation of Spartan character. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, "If I invade Laconia, you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans replied with one word, "If."
And I think he left them alone.
Pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure
he did, as legend says.
And Philip of Macedon is Alexander the Great's father. And
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
if he hadn't been assassinated, so this is a total aside, but if Philip of Macedon had not been assassinated at his wedding it was a political marriage within the Macedonian political system was really messed up. And if he hadn't gotten married at this particular time and probably killed by Alexander's mother or some sort of plot, there was a plot against him and he died, he would have probably been the general that everybody talks about as one of the greatest generals of all time. Because Alexander was handed the keys to the best army in history. And it was so advanced and so untouchable. Now, Alexander the Great, brilliant commander, there's no question. But his father was the one that got it there. It's like to put it in hockey terms, it's like Brian Murray with Anaheim. It's sort of like Brian Murray built everything, and then Brian Burke came in and said, "Okay, we're going to get Chris Pronger," and then they won. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that's the thing that, like, it's so interesting. Philip of Macedon is one of the more interesting characters in history, and the Macedonian history itself is fascinating because they had this whole system. They infighting, and then along comes Philip, fights 20 years of war to just unite this relatively small piece of land, and then was poised to take over the world after that. Like Alexander the Great, he went into India, he fought against elephants. Like, you know how insane that is? Like, it's crazy. So anyway, Thermopylae was, from a Western perspective, the thing that quote unquote saved Western culture. Although I think in the way they view it now, I think it's a little bit changed. From a Persian perspective, it's like a mosquito. It's just nothing. And right. Persian culture is so. I encourage anybody that's not gone in depth with. It doesn't have to be war, right? None of this has to be war. Persian culture is so flippin' fascinating and so old and has so many different facets to it. It's a shame that part of the world is under so much tumult right now. And part of that is self-inflicted and part of that is inflicted by, the Western powers. But like Iran and that sort of area of the world is such a old, incredible culture that goes back thousands and thousands of years. And I think that it's a shame that people are viewing them as enemies because it means that we don't learn about them. It's just they're the enemy and that's the enemy today.
Well, and the earliest civilizations, like what was it? Yeah. Mesopotamia and is it Syria?
Oh yeah. Assyria is absolutely it was the big Persian Empire at the time. Yeah. And there's, I mean, do you remember when ISIS took over spots in, I think, Iran and Iraq or whatever it was, and they were destroying old monuments? Those were Assyrian monuments. They were trying to destroy the history so that people wouldn't. That's the thing, right? When you have a totalitarian sort of mindset, the thing is wipe out the history, which is what they did in China over the course of the last century. Wipe out the history so there's no connection to it and there's no tradition. Start anew, and it's all about us.
And things that survived millennia.
Yeah.
And just gone because someone decided to be an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were in control of these things for like a couple months and blew them up. It's a shame.
Oh, wow.
It's a horrible loss. But anyway, yeah, very, very interesting time in history, and very interesting to see the world view on it because everybody's perspectives is so different. So anyway, that's just my view. I don't know.
This was a good one because you're always World War I, World War II, and they go, how about ancient Greece?
I liked it. I really liked that.
Look up ancient Persia. It's so good.
Now, we were going to do a draft. You guys were going to draft your teams, and then I was going to get people to vote on it. Do you want to save that for next episode?
We'll lead with that next episode.
An hour and 50 minutes in?
Save it.
Yeah.
Save
Okay.
it. Yeah, save it.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to dominate with that stupid
No,
history
it's
conversation.
good.
again.
That's the segment, man. That's what it is. Yeah, no, it's...
Exactly
sorry,
what we
Adam.
asked
We're all
for.
real busy. I wish you didn't waste our time with...
Don't you guys have something to do right now?
Come on, man. That's one thing with a lot of the stuff I'm making is I'm not bothering to be concise.
Mhm.
No?
No, because everyone's just like, can you make those longer?
Fair enough. Yep.
No.
Jesse, do we have any other questions, or do you just want to wrap it?
I'm good.
All right. Well, listen, this was a fun show. We've missed you.
Yeah.
And we will continue to do our shows and continue to talk to you. You know what? There is a couple things. Do you have your shout outs ready to go? Because this is the one thing that I do want to do every episode, and I forgot.
Yes.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
So
I need 1 second.
let me just pull mine up because I had a couple DMs I wanted to talk about today. So give me just a moment. There it is. So mine comes from Shut Her Down on Twitter. His name is Chef, I think. Well, he calls himself Chef anyway.
Hello
Hey, Adam.
there, children.
Hey, Adam, I want to shout out my mom, who's a pharmacist and works at 2 pharmacies, one in the Junction, which is in Toronto, and one in High Park, which is in Toronto, of course. She works 4 times a week and has asthma. She is my hero. She's the hero of the family, and she still has the energy to come home to cook for 3 men. What a trooper. Stay safe. So I thought that was really, really sweet.
It's worse
Little
than
shout out to your
men.
mom.
What's worse? Am I right?
Yeah. Well, come on. You could cook for her. Give her some. Do try. Or maybe you're just so bad at it that she wouldn't want to eat it anyway.
Yeah. You going to do frozen nuggets or just order a pizza? Here, I got one. This is from Tasha. Hey, I don't want to whitewash all the amazing shout-outs to frontline workers, but if the chance comes up, can you mention all the people trying to get us physically motivated at home? My buddy is doing Pilates. She has friends doing yoga, etc., etc., etc. I would be a couch potato if not for Nat Does Pilates on Instagram. I'm sure many feel the same. Thank you. Thanks to you. Thank you to you, Adam and Jesse as well. You guys are something to look forward to. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Tasha.
Appreciate that.
And if I can do a selfish shout out, Chad.infinitefitness on Instagram. He's not a big Instagram guy, but right now I'm seeing him for training, and we just did our first FaceTime session. So he's if you're looking for something like that, some sort of motivation, and someone who really, really knows what they're talking about, really knows their shit, maybe give him a follow on Instagram, send him a message, and I'll try to talk him through how to actually respond to you.
Okay.
Okay.
No, that'd be good.
He really knows his shit when it comes to fitness. He's not so good at the online stuff,
marketing.
but he's
Not his
learning.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, we FaceTime. He discovered something that was wrong with me yesterday, like over the phone. Like he noticed something over the phone that I didn't realize I was doing in person with my own body. He's unbelievable.
And I got a DM from Andrew Gilbank. He slid in and he said, "Hey, Jesse, on Wednesday, could you give a crown or a shout out to lab techs? They are the forgotten workers in hospitals, and they will be doing the COVID-19 testing. My girlfriend is working a ton, and the lab tech crew are on the front lines working hard, trying to save some lives. Oh, and the official title is lab technologist. They are in every hospital working hard. So shout out those. Shout out those lab techs out there."
Hell yeah.
That's cool. Well, listen, thank you so much for listening to our show, and hope you continue, and we will continue doing it. And I know it's, especially in Toronto, we're starting to get some beautiful weather. This is the test.
Man.
This is the test. Turn your outdoor space, front porch, back porch, back patio, patio on your condo, bedroom window on your apartment, whatever it is you have, turn it into Club U and party at Club U until this is over. So, please take care of yourself, and please take care of all the people we continue to mention in these shout outs, right? Because it's not just, as we keep saying, it is not just about us, who will be fine probably. It is about those people who are out on the front lines of this every single day. And if you are one of those people that is out on the front lines, we really appreciate you. And I hope you know that. And we will continue our appreciation of this. So please continue to send us your shout outs. Tell us why, tell us a story. You know what I mean? We get specific with this. Our DMs are open. We love you. And I believe that is it for us today.
I believe Steve has something to say.
No, sorry, I was just gonna say, listen, no one's locking you in your home yet.
But they might.
Don't fucking gather, brainwave. Yeah. How many weeks have people been asking for that? I'm losing my mind, the amount of people I see. It's cute. The sitting in lawn chairs on one side of the driveway or the other. Cool. Crossing the road, you're out walking the dogs. I don't have a problem with that. What the fuck are you all gathering in bunches for still? Stop it! Stop!
The most shocking part of that little rant was the fact that you're losing your mind. I'm really shocked that something is causing you to lose your mind, Steve.
No, it's usually so bad.
I'm fine. What do you mean? I'm fine. I can't believe I broadcasted a whole show like this. I'm fine. I am.
We're wrapping it up. See you later, guys.
Wrapping what up? This is my show.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connect